Hello. I listened to the judgment of the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinale, but stuff still happened. So what's up? Hey, it's a lion on the loose. In Italy? Not anymore. I just gave you the whole story, but let's go into the details. A lion escaped from a carnival in a town in Italy and walked the streets for several hours before ultimately being tranquilized and caught. 8-year-old Kimba the lion, which is an adorable name, thankfully didn't hurt anybody. For whatever reason, the lion was just like, y'all can chill. I'm just going for a stroll. There is literal footage of just like from people's windows of like, oh, there's a lion down there. Okay, guess I'm staying inside. But even though the lion didn't really maul anybody, this is just a reminder to not mess with lions. They might be friend-shaped. They are not friends. This is also a reminder to stop exploiting animals in circuses. Stop it. Hey, Apple discriminated, this time against U.S. citizens and permanent residents when hiring people. The U.S. Department of Justice has reached a settlement with Apple of about $25 million over violations of hiring policy. According to the DOJ, Apple was, quote, creating unlawful barriers that make it harder for someone to seek a job because of their citizenship status. In the tech world, it's often a whole lot cheaper to outsource jobs overseas and pay a lot less, or hire on somebody and give them a visa so that they have to stay at the company if they want to stay in the country. You're either paying significantly less overseas or bringing someone here and having much better employee retention rates. It's a lot easier to keep employees when them leaving your company means they have to eject themselves from the country. Anyway, while the agreement does say that Apple did violate these laws, Apple maintains it was just an oopsie-doopsie. They say they were, quote, unintentionally not following these standards. Apple is a multi-trillion-dollar company and can probably afford lawyers that could have figured that one out. Oops, wrong car. The Secret Service opened fire at 3 people in DC over the weekend because they were trying to carjack the Secret Service. Yep, it was a detail that was supposed to be protecting Joe Biden's granddaughter, Naomi, who exists. I didn't know that. But I guess these thieves didn't know either, because they were like, ooh, that's a nice unmarked SUV. Let's break into it. And then they tried to do that, and oops, all Secret Service. Nobody was injured by the gunfire because the Secret Service missed all their shots. Excellent training, but also for realsies, thanks for not killing them. Don't kill people over property. But the Secret Service saw them scramble into a red car and drive off, and they've now put out a bulletin saying, we're looking for a red car. So if you see a red car, it's probably them. Be afraid of red cars. That's the message here. Haha, I'm the news. Be scared. Boo. I scared you. Carjackings in DC are on the rise. I actually just recently talked about another US congressman who had his car stolen in DC. Maybe that just gave them a taste for public officials. But regardless, what if we just started, meeting people's needs? So that crime didn't happen so much. No? All right, moving on. The FBI has seized the phone and other personal devices of New York City Mayor Eric Adams. Adams, a former cop and now mayor of New York City, is under investigation by the FBI for potential campaign finance violations. It is suspected that he may have taken payments from the Turkish government. There's a lot going on there. Very recently, his campaign finance director's home was raided by the FBI. And then now his stuff was taken. But Adams and his campaign attorney both maintain that he is not under investigation and is innocent of any wrongdoing, if there was any wrongdoing. It was a staffer, and they handled it. Stop worrying about it. Can we forget this now? Okay, let's just move on. Just stop worrying about it. On this day in 1956, the U.S. Supreme Court handed down a decision which would go on to end one of the most notable racial protests in U.S. history. And that would be the Montgomery bus boycott. If you're not super familiar with U.S. racial history, and if you're not from the U.S., you probably aren't, there was a famous boycott in which Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a bus to a white passenger. This was in Alabama, and at the time there was a state law that segregated buses, and she was legally required to give up her seat to white people. She refused because fuck that, and that kicked off a year-long protest of the bus system. Eventually, a federal court ruled that the state's laws were unconstitutional. The state fought it all the way to the Supreme Court, who upheld that ruling, ultimately ending the protest as they had to change the laws. It was obviously a rocky ride and did not fix everything overnight. But Rosa Parks remains a total badass. Lightning round. It turns out Warren Buffett did insider trading, despite being loudly against insider trading. Shock. A U.S. military aircraft has gone down over the Mediterranean Sea. They claim it was a training accident. A sitting Florida lawmaker is under fire because after being asked how many citizens of Gaza need to die in this conflict, She replied, all of them. Just so you hear her name, it was Michelle Salzman, is the one that called to kill 2.3 million people. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu says that Israel will continue to, quote, control security in Gaza once they're done there, doing the killing, bombing hospitals, and making it so that people can't get any humanitarian aid. The great tech layoffs continue, even to this day, as Google, Amazon, and others have announced another wave of layoffs. Literally hundreds of thousands of tech workers have been laid off at this point. If you bought a Cybertruck, I'm laughing at you, but also Tesla has announced that you will not be able to resell it or they'll sue you, at least for like a year after purchase. But also, like, why are you buying a Cybertruck? What are you doing? Bro, because I know it's bro. Get your life together. And finally for today, Tumblr is dead. Long live Tumblr. As the parent company that now owns Tumblr, whichever one that is now, I believe it's Automatic, they have moved a lot of the actual product team for Tumblr away from it. And now it's just sort of in maintenance mode. But we all know what they could have done to save Tumblr. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode of Stuff Keeps Happening. Head to stuffkeepshappening.online for sources, bonus content, and a secret underground Cybertruck reseller market. Don't forget to share this episode with other folks. It really helps the show. Leaving a review on your podcast app also helps a ton as well. I very much appreciate your listening and support. My name is Endeavorance. I'll be back on Wednesday. Take care and be well.